यहाँ पे पेन ड्राइव लगेगा ना? लगेगा ना पेन ड्राइव? अच्छा ठीक है, अभी फिलहाल नहीं चाहिए, आज नहीं चाहिए, फिलहाल नहीं चाहिए। ओके, विच स्कूल? क्या? रायन, एपीजे नेहरू, एपीजे नहीं, एपीजे नेहरू की खारगर में भी है ना? नहीं, उनके कहाँ भी गई क्या? Where's the other APJ school? Khargar. And Ryan. Jaipur. Portion started?
Yes.
Started already?
My teacher didn't come.
For you not started. Ryan started. They started the portion.
Yes.
Which chapter?
Life.
ये अभी 2 महीना चलने वाला है। हाँ, ये बहुत बड़ा वाला है, वो 2 महीना चलेगा। अच्छा चलो, नाउ फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम तुम लोग का भी आज ही लेक्चर शुरू हुआ है ना, फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम ना मेरे। वेलकम टू यूटी, आई एम द बायोलॉजी टीचर। हाँ, बहुत अच्छी तरह से हम बायोलॉजी के क्वेश्चंस पढ़ेंगे, बट एट द सेम टाइम आई विल ट्राई टू मेक थिंग्स वेरी सिंपल, जितना मुझसे हो पाएगा। जो भी समझ में नहीं आएगा इंग्लिश या हिंदी में पूछ सकते हो, ओके? इससे ज्यादा और कोई भाषा मुझे आता नहीं। सो जितना हो सके आई विल ट्राई टू मेक थिंग्स सिंपल। सो आई वांट यू टू हैव अ वेरी वेरी नाइस पीरियड हियर, गेट द मैक्सिमम ऑफ मार्क्स दैट यू कैन स्कोर। जो भी हेल्प हमारे तरफ से, ऑल पॉसिबल, वी आर देयर टू हेल्प यू, बट फ्रॉम योर एंड your participation, your urge to learn should be there. हाँ, जो पेशेंट डॉक्टर को बार बार डिस्टर्ब करेगा वो डॉक्टर भी उस पेशेंट को स्पेशल केयर देते हैं ना। आई एम दैट टाइप ऑफ अ पेशेंट, मैं डॉक्टर्स का जान खा लेती हूँ, नहीं मुझे ये दीजिए, नहीं। बट अगर तुम जाओगे सीधा आ जाओगे, डॉक्टर भी एक प्रेस्क्रिप्शन लिख के जाओगे, जो बच्चा ज्यादा रोएगा पेरेंट्स उसको ही ज्यादा अटेंशन देते हैं कि नहीं? यू ऑल हैव सिबलिंग्स?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, तो तुम लोगों ने अच्छी तरह से देखा है, आई हैव आल्सो सीन इन माय लाइफ। जो बच्चा चुपचाप है पेरेंट्स भी उनको छोड़ देते हैं, चल हो जाएगा, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं। एज अ 10th स्टैंडर्ड स्टूडेंट बहुत ज्यादा वो अर्ज होनी चाहिए टू लर्न मोर एंड मोर। वो सीबीएसई बुक हो गया चलो खत्म, नहीं, 11th 12th तुम्हारा बाकी है। आज से ही वो प्लान करके चलो कि 10th का तो पढ़ना ही है, 11th और 12th के लिए भी एक्स्ट्रा यार पढ़ना है, एक्स्ट्रा चीजें पढ़नी है, ठीक है? नाउ यू मस्ट बी अवेयर अबाउट द सिलेबस, नो? यू आर अवेयर अबाउट द सिलेबस?
I'm not the syllabus. CBSE hasn't given the syllabus.
CBSE
hasn't given the syllabus.
अच्छा, वो इस बार तो लगभग वही होगा। साइंस biology, if I talk about, we have got chapters like life processes. That's almost like a Bible. खत्म हो जाए, हमारे यहाँ पे तो फटाफट हो जाएगा, तुम्हारे यहाँ पे चलेगा 2-2 महीने। Life processes, but this chapter has got maximum weightage. Every part of the chapter has to be studied very nicely, understood very nicely. Okay? Life process. इसके बाद नहीं, that is physics. हाँ, life process,
control and coordination.
That's a very very interesting chapter. Control, coordination. And how do organisms reproduce? और भी है, this is the first term portion, I think that is given in your book right now. You all got the books?
Yes.
मिले ना? अच्छा, बायो किसको पसंद है? हाँ, very good, I love you so much. तुमको I love you very much. तुम लोगों को पसंद है, get lost from my books. If you don't love the subject, वो ऐसे भी कम समझ में आने वाला है। हाँ, हर हर एक सब्जेक्ट को boys generally don't love bio. That's the reason there are so many smart female doctors. हाँ है ना? Never mind. So now we are talking about life processes में हम काफी सारे, आज तो मैं खाली प्रिलिमिनरी, बिकॉज शायद अगले क्लास में और भी कुछ नए बच्चे आएंगे. Some are there, some are going to join in a few days. We are going to start with this chapter क्योंकि तुम्हारे सबके स्कूल्स में यही चैप्टर पहले स्टार्ट होगा. Life processes. We are going to start with this. अगर मैं पूछूं क्या बताओगे?
Life processes which help in our life, respiration and digestion,
Our body works. Processes which help us to keep alive. और अगर मैं बोलूँ processes which help us to go on with our functions, metabolic functions. अच्छा, what is a life process? If I start with what is a life process? Life process वैसे तो हमारे बॉडी में बहुत सारे metabolic functions होते हैं. If I'm talking about respiration, that's a metabolic function. If I talk about excretion, that's a metabolic function. If I talk about movement and locomotion, is that a function which helps, or is that a function, is that a process which is necessary for our survival?
Yes.
Movement and locomotion.
And what is locomotion?
Chalna. Movement from one region to another. Okay. Is it necessary for our survival?
Yes.
And movement is inside the body.
This is movement. When I am walking, this is locomotion.
Only movement is necessary for the
Locomotion not necessary?
Both are necessary.
In different things.
Because we need to search for our food.
अच्छा. और कोई तुमको खाना दे देगा तो?
Still we need to eat, so our hands should be
हाँ, good. Interaction होना चाहिए क्लास में इसी तरह और भी ज़्यादा. Now ये वर्चुअल क्लास में कितना I was really fed up. हाँ, पढ़ाते रहो, दूसरे साइड में बच्चा सैंडविच खा रहा है, जूस पी रहा है, सोफा में बैठे और मैं स्ट्रेट चेयर में बैठी. Thank God. Now, when we are talking about this, I would say respiration तो है ही life process. उसके बिना तो हम survive ही नहीं कर सकते. Excretion,
yes,
life process है. Transport हाँ करें. Digestion, transportation मतलब ये जो movement of the blood, functioning of the heart, etc. Life process है. Movement and locomotion may not be necessary for our survival. Plant तो jump नहीं करता, फिर भी तो survive करता है. Reproduction,
yes,
है life process. क्यों?
Otherwise, the species will.
Human beings will get
सब तुम्हारे
extinct.
survival के लिए it's my choice whether I reproduce or not. और उसके लिए मैं मर थोड़ी जाऊंगी, नहीं मर जाऊंगी ना. Not a life process. ये समझने की कोशिश करो what is a life process जो हमारा survival के लिए important हो. That's a life process. आ रहा है समझ में?
Yes.
तो metabolic processes तो हमारे body में बहुत सारे हैं. Metabolic processes there are lots in our body. जैसे मैंने movement की बात की, movement locomotion, that's a metabolic process. But digestion, respiration, excretion के बिना हम survive ही नहीं कर पाएंगे. At the same time, reproduction choice है हमारी. वो extinction of species बाद में देखा जाएगा, तो कम हो उतना ही अच्छा. But when we are talking about, वो choice है हमारी. So when we are talking about certain processes जो हमारा survival के लिए important नहीं है, example addition. एडिशनल। आज अगर मैं ये चेन नहीं पहनती तो भी चलता, ये तो है, पर कपड़ा पहनना इज एसेंशियल, है ना? दैट इज द डिफरेंस। आ रहा है समझ में? सो व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हाट इज अ लाइफ प्रोसेस, प्रोसेसेस सिंपल डेफिनेशन हमेशा लिखो, आंसर्स शॉर्ट एंड प्रिसाइज। व्हाट इज अ लाइफ प्रोसेस? Processes which are necessary for our survival. For example, respiration, excretion, digestion, transportation and diffusion भी तुम्हारे सिलेबस में दिया हुआ है. That is basically not for us, but that is basically for single cell organisms, simple organisms के लिए. You will get questions in your exam. Is reproduction a life process? Justify. No, reproduction is not a life process because that is not necessary for our survival. Yes, that is necessary for the continuity of species, but that does not make an organism less fit for survival. Okay? तो इस चैप्टर में हम क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं? लाइफ प्रोसेस में हम क्या पढ़ेंगे? 4 मेजर सेक्शंस जो हम इस चैप्टर में पढ़ने वाले हैं. First is we are going to study nutrition. Second, we are going to study respiration. Third, we are going to study excretion. Fourth, we are going to study transportation. And for fifth, we are going to study digestion. Diffusion.
Digestion.
अरे पढ़ेंगे ना यहाँ पे?
Okay.
Nutrition. We'll study first this nutrition. Again, nutrition, nutrients, food stuffs, nutrition, nutrients, food stuffs. अच्छा पहले तो ये दो वर्ड के बीच में डिफरेंस कौन बताएगा? What is this and what is the difference between this?
Anything we can eat is called food stuff, and the carbohydrates, proteins, and nutrients present in the food are known as nutrients. And the process of absorption of nutrients is nutrition.
हो गया प्रश्न हट जाओ. मैं क्या पढ़ाऊंगी तुमको? Food stuffs. What are food stuffs? Food items. Nutrients कैसे डिफाइन करेंगे? एक फूड आइटम में जो केमिकल कंपोनेंट्स होती है, कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स हुआ, प्रोटीन्स हुआ, विटामिन्स हुआ, फैट्स हुआ, etc. Chemical components present in food items या food stuffs. And food stuffs, एप्पल एक food stuff है, ब्रेड एक food stuff है, रोटी चपाती food stuff है, चावल राइस food stuff है. अबे न्यूट्रिशन का क्या मतलब है? न्यूट्रिशन इट्स अ प्रोसेस. ज्यादातर हमको ये लगता है कि न्यूट्रिशन एक कंपोनेंट है या एक स्ट्रक्चर है. नो, इट्स अ प्रोसेस. द प्रोसेस. न्यूट्रिशन का डेफिनेशन लिखो, प्रॉपर डेफिनेशन. व्हाट इज न्यूट्रिशन? यही हम सबसे पहले सीखने वाले. व्हाट इज न्यूट्रिशन? द प्रोसेस of procurement मतलब अंदर लेना. Process of procurement and digestion of process of procurement and digestion of the components of foodstuffs. That is called nutrition, which is the process. Okay. So, abhi, whenever we are talking about the concept of nutrition, whenever we are talking about the concept of nutrition, the process of procurement, let us talk about this word. Process of procurement and digestion of the components. Okay, digestion बाद में we will try to understand it. Procurement मतलब process of taking in. Now, let me give you 5 examples. Let me give you 5 examples of animals. I talk about a frog. I talk about human. I talk about amoeba. I talk about a parrot. And I talk about aquatic organism. Is the method of procurement the same?
No, ma'am.
Different है. Frog. What is the method of procurement? कैसे लेता है खाना कैसे लेगा? Taking out the sticky tail, tongue, and then the organisms get stuck and then put it inside. Human, put it inside in our mouth. Amoeba, show their body surface, no? Parrot, beak, bite with the help of beak. Whale, again grab with the help of the sharp teeth. There are many such examples. When we are talking about different group of organisms, they have got different methods of taking in food. That also will decide how will the food get digested in the body. अगर simple organism है तो method of taking inside the mouth also is simple and the digestion also becomes simple. For example, if I talk about frog and human, yes, when I am talking about the frog has limitations. लगभग कोई कुछ सारे insects and worms वो खा सकता है, उससे ज़्यादा तो और कुछ नहीं है. And whenever we are talking about the human, the type of food that we can eat are varied. Process of digestion complex. I talk about the parrot and the whale. Type of food that it can take comparatively varied. As in case comparison with amoeba, है ना? अगर मैं amoeba के साथ compare कर रही हूँ तो obviously amoeba has got the minimal limitations. वही कुछ molecules and find those granular biomolecules only that it can take. But frog comparatively bit more, then parrot and then whale and then human at the pinnacle. सबसे ज़्यादा varied category हम ले सकते हैं. Method of procurement is different as in when we talk about the complexity. And digestion, of course. Method of digestion, of course. No? Whenever we are talking about method of digestion, what will decide the process of digestion in an organism? Yes, the habitat, where the organism is present, the complexity of the organ, and of course the food habit, what type of food it takes. For example, if I am talking about habitat, habitat मतलब जहाँ पे वो organism present है. Basically ये माना जाता है organisms which are in the water have simpler methods of digestion. Organisms on the land has complex methods of digestion. And when I talk about process of digestion, तो और भी different होगा when you talk about the complexity. Complexity. If I am talking about an amoeba, obviously method simple है. I talk about after amoeba, if I have to talk about the frog, वो simple है. उससे ज़्यादा complex होगा parrot, उससे ज़्यादा complex होगा whale, and उससे ज़्यादा complex होगा human. तो ये complexity पे depend होगा. So we human cannot be greedy like any other organism. We eat the bread also, the fish also, the chicken also, egg also, anything that is present in this planet. So obviously हमारा digestion capacity भी complex होनी चाहिए. Now we try to understand कि we have a complex method of procurement, complex method of digestion, and in comparison with other organisms. What is the next categorization that we should understand is the two major categories of organisms based on whether we are having a complex system of preparing food in our body, whether we have that capacity of preparing food in our body or we don't have. So we are talking about certain categories of organisms. What are the two major categories that we are going to talk about? Autotrophs and heterotrophs. Achha, let me make it autotrophic. Autotrophic, heterotrophic. Huh? So autotrophic, no, that's autotrophic. Autotrophic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. हाँ बोलो.
Autotrophic make their own food and heterotropic depend on them for their survival.
हाँ. Example?
Unlike plants make their own food, but humans depend on plants for
their food. है ना? So यहाँ पे we are going to understand what is the meaning of autotrophic nutrition. How will you define? What will you write? Autotrophic nutrition organisms. Autotrophic nutrition is a word. Don't write. Autotrophic nutrition कैसे define करेंगे? Mode of nutrition इसी तरह से लिखना है. Mode of nutrition in which अभी देखो now that you are in the 10th standard अच्छा लगता है काफी बड़े हो गए नहीं अच्छा लगा जब 10th स्टैंडर्ड में बच्चे आ जाते हैं उनको लगता है कि अरे हम तो बहुत मैच्योर हो गए. नहीं लगता तुम एक्सेप्शन. क्लास स्कूल में भी वो अपने आप को बहुत समझने लग जाते हैं. अरे सबसे बड़े क्लास में हम ही पढ़ते हैं और घर पे तो ऐसे लगेगा कि पेरेंट्स से मैच्योर तो वही है. My daughter who has got promoted to 3rd standard, उसकी मेच्योरिटी ऐसा है कि कभी-कभी मुझे लगता है कि who is mature in the house. She will give me immediate action. Mama, don't worry, you do this for me, do that for me. मैं चुपचाप बैठी रहती हूँ. Autotrophic nutrition. What is the meaning of that? What I was trying to tell you. अब जैसे 10th standard में you feel that you are very smart, clothes smart है, answers भी smart होना चाहिए. एक लंबा पैराग्राफ नहीं लिखो. Short, crisp, precise answer. Mode of nutrition in which organisms can prepare their own food. Mode of nutrition लिखना है. Students don't write that. Every time I will keep on telling you answer कैसे लिखना है. कितने बार students know everything but लिख नहीं सकते अच्छी तरह से. That's the reason they get bad marks, horrible marks. The way you present your answer matters. कैसे लिखना है, क्या लिखोगे, exactly क्या words use करोगे, key terms. First lecture से मैं ये बोल रही हूँ, key terms of the subject always has to be used. Physics है तो physics, chemistry है तो chemistry, biology है तो biology. Mode of nutrition in which organisms can prepare their own food. Autotrophic nutrition. Because we are talking about autotrophic nutrition. And जो organisms autotrophic है, उसको हम क्या बोलेंगे? Autotrophs. Such organisms are known as autotrophs. Autotrophic, लिखो, make a habit. Mode of nutrition in which organisms can prepare their own food. Mode of nutrition in which organisms can prepare their own food. नहीं मैंने सही लिखा. Autotrophic is H. हाँ. वर्चुअल क्लासेस ने हमको भी वीडियोस बना दिया. Autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition. I repeat, mode of nutrition in which organisms can prepare their own food. Full stop. Such organisms are called autotrophs. Such organisms are called autotrophs. Okay. Now, autotrophic mode of nutrition, or this mode of nutrition can be again classified under two main categories. These organisms are called autotrophs.
Yes, ma'am.
This mode of nutrition again can be classified under two main heads. One is autotrophic. Second is chemo autotrophic. What is the difference? Autotrophic, when I understand, I am talking about the mode of nutrition in which organisms require sunlight for preparing their food. Examples: plants, blue-green algae. They always require sunlight. Along with that, they may require carbon dioxide. Along with that, they may require water, chlorophyll. And apart from chlorophyll, also there are some other pigments. But if I am talking about chemoautotrophic organisms, no, they don't require sunlight. Which type of organisms I am talking about? Bacteria in the soil, which does not require sunlight, but they can convert the nitrates and the sulfates, etc., that is there in the soil, in the rocks, etc., to some organic food. Rhizobium
takes sunlight from the
some
plant.
nitrogen fixing bacteria. Some nitrogen fixing bacteria can do that, where they can utilize some nutrients of the soil into some usable form of carbohydrate.
Ma'am, but the root of the plants means for growing it need sunlight on it, so indirectly it is using sunlight.
Roots does not need sunlight.
No, but indirectly the plant is taking the sunlight only, right?
No, the plant is taking sunlight only by the way of leaves, जहाँ पे उसका organic food बन रहा है. But the organic food is getting transferred to all other parts of the plants, but the roots grow without sunlight. Roots are growing because the food is being transferred from the leaf to the root. But I am talking about bacteria which is present in the roots of certain plants, which can additionally make their own food. The word food that I am repeatedly telling you, ye yaad rakho, I am talking about some organic molecules. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen से बना. Some organic molecules which can be glucose, which may not be glucose, any form of carbohydrate. अब बात यह है कि if I am talking about a plant needs certain components. कैसे? कौन से वाले? Plant needs certain components like carbon dioxide. Plant needs components like sunlight. It needs water. It needs chlorophyll. And with the usage of such type of components, it can prepare, using all these, it can prepare organic food. ठीक है? तो chemoautotrophic different कैसे है? Chemoautotrophic, does it require carbon dioxide? No. Does it require sunlight? No. Yes, water it may require. And does it require chlorophyll? No. But it requires some special enzymes. And it can prepare organic food. So that is the difference. अब ये ऑर्गेनिक फूड टाइप्स में डिफरेंट हो सकता है, जैसे as I said कि ये ग्लूकोज हो सकता है, सुक्रोज हो सकता है, ये कुछ और, ठीक है ना? So now, तो ये बेसिक डिफरेंस क्या हुआ? What is the difference now that I'm talking about? Autotrophic organisms is something like the green plants, like the blue-green algae in the pond and the lake and the sea and the ocean, which always will require water, chlorophyll, and this carbon dioxide for preparing their organic food. But now I'm talking about chemoautotrophic, something like the bacteria in the soil, which does not need any of these except for some special enzymes which they have, जो nitrates and sulfates को तोड़ के मरोड़ के they can make some organic food, and with that they can survive. आया समझ में? So two basic categories, autotrophic, photoautotrophic and chemoautotrophic. Examples, अच्छा पहले ये लिखा,
Right.
photoautotrophic, organisms which require sunlight. Organisms which require sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll. Organisms that require sunlight, chlorophyll, water, sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll for preparing organic food, for manufacturing organic food. I'll repeat. Organisms which require carbon dioxide, sunlight, water, chlorophyll for preparing organic food. Bracket में लिख के रखो something like glucose. Now, as it is, as I gave you the other definition also, such type of organisms are termed as photoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs. Example: plants. Because plants, blue-green algae. Photoautotrophs. Chemoautotrophs. Right, Robert. So similarly, chemoautotrophic nutrition में वही लिखना है, format remains same. Mode of nutrition in which organisms do not utilize sunlight. अभी सारे components मत लिखो. Do not require sunlight. Mode of nutrition in which organisms do not utilize sunlight, but require special enzymes to convert the nitrates, sulfates, etc. of their environment to form glucose. This classroom, I'm becoming nostalgic when I'm teaching here today. ये classroom एक bench में 6 as if one is sitting on top of the other. हमें ऐसे करके पढ़ाना पड़ता था. Almost they are falling on our face. Classroom packed. See the effect of the virus now. Never mind. Very few days the classroom will be filled up again. So, chemoautotrophic nutrition. What I said? Organisms which does not require sunlight but have specialized enzymes that can convert nitrates, sulfates of their environment to prepare organic. Example like nitrogen fixing bacteria or bacteria. Simple bacteria भी लिखोगे तो भी correct है. Nitrogen fixing bacteria. Nitrogen fixing bacteria. आया समझ में दो difference अभी. So we talk about photoautotrophic, chemoautotrophic. So this is about the concept of autotrophic. Anyway, whether they require sunlight or not, They are capable of preparing organic food. Abhi, this category of organisms are more in the planet. If I say roughly about autotrophic almost 90% hai, so this type of organisms are 10-15%. These are comparatively much lesser, but hey, all organisms which are autotrophic do not require sunlight for preparing. Let us talk about heterotrophic now. क्या definition लिखेंगे heterotrophic का?
The mode of nutrition in which organisms cannot prepare their own food but depend on the autotrophs are known as
Organisms which cannot manufacture their own food and are dependent on
autotrophic organisms.
and are dependent on
Other organism or autotrophs.
or are they dependent on? If I am talking about a heterotroph, is a heterotroph dependent only on an autotroph? It is dependent on heterotrophs also. So generalized लिखना है. Mode of nutrition in which organisms cannot manufacture their own food and are dependent on other organisms are dependent on other organisms is known as heterotrophic nutrition. Such organisms are known as heterotrophic. सेम फॉर्मेट में लिखो. ऑटोट्रॉफिक जो फॉर्मेट में दिया मैंने उसी फॉर्मेट में लिखना है, खाली डिफरेंस ये होगा मोड ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन इन विच ऑर्गेनिजम्स cannot manufacture their own food and are dependent on other organisms. Full stop. Such organisms are known as heterotrophs. इतना लिखो अपने आप. Your names?
I'm sorry.
Shaurya. Nishika. Jasleen. हाँ मुझे देख के लगा ही था नाम इस तरह से कुछ हो. पंजाबी हो गए.
I'm sick.
हाँ? Sick. अच्छा. Sick और what's the other category? अच्छा, we all try that term. Now, heterotrophic 5 एग्जांपल बताओ.
Human, animal.
इंजीनियर बन कोई अच्छा है. हाँ बताओ.
Humans,
एनिमल भी तो बहुत बड़ा कैटेगरी है भाई. एग्जांपल बताओ. एग्जांपल बताओ.
lions, frogs, whales,
वैरायटी.
mammals.
मैमल तो बिग कैटेगरी है.
मैंने नहीं बोला.
किसने बोला? स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल बताओ. हेटरोट्रॉफिक के 5 स्पेसिफिक. ह्यूमन हो गया. व्हेल हो गया. लायन सब एक ही कैटेगरी के क्यों बोल रहे हो? डाइवर्सिटी पिछले साल नहीं पढ़ा था इसीलिए. हाँ
Deleted था.
ओमाइक्रॉन
Deleted था.
ओमिटेड था. इससे ओमाइक्रॉन. और कुछ एग्जांपल बोलो. ईगल चलो अलग है. हाँ और कुछ एग्जांपल बोलो. हाँ बैक्टीरिया भी कुछ बैक्टीरिया हेटरोट्रॉफिक भी है. चलो बिल हेटरोट्रॉफिक वायरस की तो heterotrophic nutrition. If I am talking about heterotrophic nutrition, fungus heterotrophic है. What about the tapeworm? Roundworm, tapeworm heterotrophic है. Yes. Human heterotrophic है. Then if I talk about the snail heterotrophic है. नहीं आगे तो इसमें आ रहा है. एमीबा इसमें आ रहा है. हेटरोट्रॉफिक है. करेक्ट.
मशरूम का हेटरोट्रॉफिक.
मशरूम्स इसमें फंगस है ना. इसमें आएगा. So there are many different. Now that we have talked about autotrophic, only 2 categories. Heterotrophic बहुत सारे categories होंगे. बहुत सारे हैं. Apart from the syllabus of the 3 categories we are going to learn. But remember, heterotrophic modes of nutrition are varied. As I said, tapeworm, roundworm वो भी heterotrophic है, एक snail वो भी heterotrophic है, एक earthworm वो भी heterotrophic है, the cockroach वो भी heterotrophic है, and then the mosquito, bees, the flies वो भी heterotrophic, human heterotrophic, the fishes heterotrophic, parrots heterotrophic, oh, variety. Let us talk about some of these categories only. I hope you have come across those terms. Heterotrophic nutrition, when I am talking about the first type of nutrition that we are going to talk about would be holozoic mode of nutrition. Second, we are going to talk about parasitic. And third, we are going to talk about saprotrophic. हाँ? Saprophytic है कि trophic है तुम्हारे सिलेबस में? Saprophytic. एक ही है. One is of plant origin, the other is of animal origin. Saprophytic. Now, when we are talking about holozoic, let us learn this. Holozoic. What is the meaning of holozoic? Mode of nourishment. Again, remember, we are not talking about organisms. We are talking about the modes. Heterotrophic mode of nutrition के अंदर we are learning this three. The first one is holozoic mode. What is the meaning of that? अभी यहाँ पे holozoic mode of nutrition, organism which is capable of taking bits and pieces of the food or the whole food and digest the food inside the body. Holozoic. When I say bits and pieces, what does that mean? If time is up, you tell me. I am not telling my watch. Now, what is the meaning of holozoic? I said organisms which can take in bits and pieces of food or the whole food. Bits and pieces. We take a bite of an apple, yes, and we can digest it inside. Whole food. That's a whole food.
Tablets.
अरे वो food थोड़ी.
That means toffees we can.
अच्छा, strong. एक grape हमने पूरा खाया, whole food. Fishes, छोटे fishes हम पूरा खा सकते हैं. Prawns, full entire organism we can eat, no? शाकाहारी हो. मुझे वो देख रही इसके. So now when we are talking about, are we capable of eating that whole animal, whole organism? Yes, we can. We can. No? So we can take in bits and pieces or the whole food, and we can digest it in our body. If that is the mode of nutrition, holozoic. Next class we are going to write this, but first of all, learn the differences. Parasitic. Don't write. I mean, because, हाँ? अच्छा जैसे मैंने बोला वो पता था जिसमें बात कर कुछ बोला. Parasitic. ये तो पता है.
Which depend on other organisms. Like
Parasitic में हम जो हमें पसंद नहीं आता हम बोलते हैं ना, that's a very common word that we have like a parasite. जो हमेशा हमारे ऊपर डिपेंड होना चाहता है. We always say no, don't behave like a parasite. What is the meaning of that? Organisms which are always dependent on living host. वायरस की आदत पड़ गई है हमेशा हर एक बात में वायरस की बात ही मत करो. No, viruses are different. Remember, virus is not an organism in total. It's just a particle जो हमारे सेल के अंदर जाके सीधा न्यूक्लियस में अटैक करता है. But it's not an organism. We are talking about organisms. Viruses actually have no modes of nutrition. Virus की कोई mode of nutrition होती ही नहीं है. They can only get in contact with our DNA and then multiply. Something like any outsider entering your house and taking over your bedroom, your kitchen, everything. And तुम चुपचाप बैठ के देखते रहे. That is what has happened for the last 2 years. तो हमारे body में. So we are not talking about that word virus totally क्यों? मुझे नफरत नहीं है that word. But I'm talking about ये fit नहीं होगा इस categories. They don't have any mode of nourishment. Parasitic, I would say
And tapeworm.
Tapeworm. Taking nourishment from a living host like the cattle, cow. Roundworm, taking nourishment from the body of human. Mosquito taking the blood from human. Leeches, fungal इसमें जाएगा. Leech taking nourishment from living body.
And parasite, they live in our body or
They don't live in our body. No, they may live. Some of them they may live. Now, उसकी भी categories है. We are going to learn. Some parasites will enter our body and start living, like the roundworm, tapeworms. But if I am talking about the mosquito and the leeches, they get attached to our outside surface of the body, like even the head lice and all that. They will get attached to the outside surface and take the blood and nourishment. So उसकी भी categories है. Endoparasite या तो ectoparasite. Anyway, parasite is a type of an organism which takes nourishment from the living host. Living host. तो ये कैटेगरी कैसे डिफरेंट है? Saprophytic, like the fungus. Say suppose in your house the banana has been there in the food tray for a last 5 days, किसी ने खाया नहीं तो क्या होगा उसका? Starts getting rotten. The orange, lemon starts getting overripe के बाद rotten होने लगता है. And if at all you had observed, एक green या black patches बनने लग जाते हैं. That is a fungal infection that has happened. So whenever there is decomposition of organic matter, कहीं पे भी bread, food, the fruits, कुछ भी. Whenever there is decomposition of the organic matter, there is always fungal growth. Mode of nourishment in which organisms can feed on soluble nutrients due to decomposition of organic matter, इसको हम बोलेंगे saprophytic mode of nourishment. Which category of organisms majorly fits here? Fungus. वैसे तो the process of decomposition has not been brought about by the fungus. The process of decomposition has been brought about by the bacteria. But जैसे ही process of decomposition शुरू हुआ, the fungal spores are everywhere. Right now here also probably. The fungal spores get settled on the food items, and they find that environment very suitable for their growth. Moistness, dampness, and decomposition. These are the major sites where the fungal growth happens. तो ये तीन कैटेगरी में डिफरेंस क्या है? This type of this mode of nutrition has been shown by organisms like amoeba also, and the fishes also, and the whale also, and the parrots also, and human also. Very, but in पांचों organisms में common क्या है? We can take in bits and pieces and whole food and digest that food inside our body. Parasites, can they digest the food inside their body? No. ये जो इतने examples of parasites we say, none of them, whether you talk about the leech or the mosquito or the roundworm or the tapeworm, none of them they have got a well-defined digestive system. क्यों? Something like, अगर मैं 6 महीने से constantly Zomato, Swiggy से खाना मंगाओ, 6 महीने बाद में खाना बनाने लगभग भूल जाऊंगी. It's something like that. These type of organisms, they are not in need of any digestive system because they take blood or other body fluids from organisms body or body fluid में digestive nutrients already soluble होता है. In our blood, nutrients are already soluble form में रहता है ना. So the tapeworm, roundworm, etc., they can take in the soluble nutrients. So digest करने की तो जरूरत ही नहीं है. So they don't have the digestive system only in their body. Saprophytes, वैसे तो fungus also they don't have any digestive system, but their mode of nutrition is even more simpler than this. They are in contact with the dead organism's body, taking soluble nutrients after the process of decomposition of the dead organism. So what is the difference, can you tell me? This is simpler, complex. Organisms are dependent on the dead organism's body. Like as I said, fungus, they are dependent on the process of decomposition of other organisms or a food matter. यहाँ पे the process of और यहाँ पे organisms are dependent on the living organisms. When you are asked to write down differences, ये लिखना है. तो 2 questions for you. So let us start. I think now we can complete no chapter 10.
3 minutes.
अच्छा. Let us complete this one. एक तो हो जाएगा फटाफट लिखो. Holozoic mode of nutrition. Holozoic mode of nutrition. Organisms. I'm sorry. Mode of nutrition in which organisms. Mode of nutrition in which organisms can take in parts, pieces of food, can take in parts, pieces of food or whole food and digest them inside their body. And digest them inside their body. And digest them inside their body. Full stop. Example. लिखो 2 example 3 example मैंने दिया था. This type of one more questions you will get. Amoeba, holozoic है. Any bird, any mammal. You can write examples. Fishes, holozoic है. So you can write 1 or 2 unicellular organisms, complex organisms. जब examples, you get questions. Write 2 examples. 2 examples. हाँ. तो अब अगर 2 examples of holozoic nutrition. Students आराम से cat, dog सबसे easy है. Variety लिखो हमेशा. हाँ. Amoeba, human, amoeba, cats. हमेशा एक simpler, एक complex. Very well. The examiner understands that you are aware about the entire concept. एक amoeba जो single cell है वो भी है और holozoic है. And whale है, parrot है, human है. These are also holozoic. ठीक है? We'll continue again with the rest of the concepts in the next class. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.